everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so this is Melissa.
Hey.
And this
Hi,
is
Melissa.
Sarah joining us today. So I know him as Jamie, but he prefers to be called Jaime. So y'all call him that. I'm going to be Jamie.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So good morning. Okay, so guys, this is a lot to unpack on today's case, and I mean it's just wild. And so I had kind of put some feelers out, and I was just like, okay, guys, I need some fellow crime junkies, because this case, when we first thought about this, about doing this thing, I'm like, this case is one that, I mean, we need all sorts of minds to come together to do this, because this is, I mean.
There's a lot.
Sarah's reaction was perfect when she said, oh my gosh, I just read the synopsis and it's already like, I'm laughing hysterically at this. Because you can't even make this up. Like, this isn't like Hollywood in the least bit.
No, in our room, everyone went, oh my gosh.
So Melissa she had guests over watching this show. This is how crazy this one was for everybody. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to start with Sarah. Sarah, tell us a little bit about you and why, when you became a crime junkie. Can you hear us, Sarah?
Oh, well, Sarah. I live here in Lubbock. I'm a preschool teacher now. I have a couple kids, and I was trying to think about youngest of 3, have a couple older brothers. But we watched a lot of R-rated movies. I think I just was always really interested in it. So I've really been a crime junkie from a very young age, and majored in criminal justice for a little while in college. You know, when you're like 11 and you see the movie Seven with Brad Pitt, and you're like, hey, that's really cool, and you're not completely scarred for life, probably makes you a crime junkie. So.
Awesome.
So that's
awesome. Okay, Melissa, tell us a little bit about your crime junkiness.
So I'm probably different than a lot of people. I grew up in a very religious household, and I was actually in a cult in my teenage years. And so after I left the cult, then I started, some of the true crime podcasts came out, and My Favorite Murder, and I realized there's a lot more people like me, and just, I guess, finding people's strength in like leaving these situations. And I don't know, I've struggled with anxiety, and I don't know, something about, looking at the intricacies of these cases, it almost gives you a strength, and I don't know. So I was telling Sandy, my mom is this really quiet, laid back lady, and we used to live in Detroit, and she's driving one day, and she's like, oh, that's where Jimmy Hoffa's buried. And I was like, excuse me? Like, she would never, she's not into true crime at all, but she's like, yeah, under that restaurant, that's where he's buried in the concrete. And it was just this random, that's something I remember from my childhood is, looking up Jimmy Hoffa, and it just went from there.
Okay, and so Jimmy Hoffa is on my radar as well, and I'm like, that's a whole nother episode on Jimmy Hoffa for sure.
Your mom could make some serious cash divulging where Jimmy Hoffa's buried.
Yeah.
Somebody call Geraldo.
Right. I know, right? Is he still around?
Yeah, he does some correspondence for
I don't know.
political. For the politics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotcha. That's funny. So anyway, okay, well, awesome. Okay, we'll have to come back to your story, because that's a story in itself, right?
Yeah, I know. You'll have to send me the name of your cult so I can research it.
Okay. Yes, because I've watched so many cult stuff, and actually, I just watched one. I believe it was Jim Jones. Mm-hmm. That was the one too that was super interesting. I don't know if y'all have watched that. Mm-hmm. Is it right to use the word interesting?
Yes.
Fascinating, yes.
Morbidly, I think you should put morbidly at the beginning.
Probably, yes, you're right. Morbidly
interesting.
Morbidly
fascinating.
All right, so let's dive into this, just because we got to be respectful of everybody's time. And okay, so this starts out cutesy little story. Elizabeth seems to be liked by everybody. It's a small town. Everybody knows your business. And Tom is also going to be introduced, and that's Elizabeth's father. And So Elizabeth loves riding horses, and she sells dog license tags, which that was kind of weird to me. I'm like, what? You sell dog license tags? I'm like, oh, you have to be like, you know what? And we all should be licensed to have dogs, honestly. Yeah. I mean, if I'd had to take a test about dogs, I probably would have failed, and I wouldn't have dogs this day. We're totally okay with that, because sometimes Johnny Cash is really getting on my nerves these days. He's a puppy. So anyway, side note to that. Anyway, so and one of her interesting Elizabeth's statement that she made, like right out of the gate, is she's like, I don't pass judgment on people. I'm like,
You should.
I'm like, you totally should. I mean, I do, which is why I'm sitting here doing this show. So anyway, let me see.
Yeah, that is funny. I thought about that. I was like, isn't that weird? And so I looked, I was going to research that a little bit more, but I thought, man, at the beginning of the 2000s, so, you know, we all survived Y2K, and 2002 for her, and she's selling dog licenses at the beginning of the year, because this actually would have been 2001.
Right.
Towards the end of the year. So third or fourth quarter when she's selling these things. I guess it was a deal back then. She was 26 at the time, I think.
Yeah, so that was her part-time job. And anyway, so she goes on to say that she, at this time, is living with her boyfriend of 6 years, okay?
6 years.
Well, they're in Canada, too.
Yes. It took a while. I have found that if you want to see, I found a map, because I was like, where in the world is this place?
Oh, yeah, let's see where it is.
Okay, so
in relation to Banff, the only thing that I know of Canada.
So here's Glencoe, is literally this little strip. It reminds me of Post a little bit, right? Okay. There's the main highway that goes through there. There's a Godfather's Pizza. Shout out, I love that place. But let me just show you where Glencoe is in relation to everything. So now you see Detroit.
Right. So I remember like Chatham and London as not being like a high crime area too. I was saying, like, I bet it surprised the whole little area.
So there you are. This is where I am over here. And then this is where you guys are, right about here.
So we're about 5 inches away.
Basically, yeah.
Did you guys ever see? Did you guys ever see Tu Wong Fu? You know, with like
I remember that.
And John
Patrick Swayze. Yeah, they were the cross dressers, right?
Yeah, this small town and this story kind of reminded me of Tu Wong Fu. Like, yeah, everybody's kind of so I don't know if shocked is the right word, but everybody's so engrossed in this different kind of person that they almost can't even think straight. That's kind of what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Like in Tu Wong Fu, it's obvious that they're cross dressers, but it's this just small, tiny town, and it's like it doesn't even occur to them. Anyways, yeah, this story, it's like poor Elizabeth's just in this one little, like five house town selling her dog tags, and it's like she doesn't even know which way is up. Poor girl.
Yeah. And then here she is, not passing judgment on people. Okay, so anyway, she's living with Andy, and she loves horses. Okay, and Andy does not like anything that Elizabeth likes. They have nothing in common, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, you've been with them for 6 years. Right. You have nothing in common. You've not found any common ground. So it's safe to say that maybe it's not such a good relationship. And another thing too is, if you watch this episode, okay, so this was my I guess third into the series, and I thought, man, this is kind of low budget. There's just like the actors. This one really got to me. This is before I'm like, man, they have a girl playing a guy. That is so weird. And of course, this is before you know anything. I just thought it was just to the low budget, Sure. Okay, so anyway.
Oh, the production quality definitely leaves something to be desired, yeah.
Yeah, and then those wigs were kind of bad. Elizabeth's wig was really bad. Yeah. So anyway. So rumor has it that there's a lone rider in town. I mean, this is like some Wild West.
Lone rider.
There's a lone rider, and so I guess he's kind of intriguing people.
Sorry.
And it turns out that this lone rider is Angelo Headington. And as fate would have it, Angelo owns a dog. Elizabeth rides on in and is going to sell Angelo his dog license. Okay. I mean,
I mean, there might not be a lot to do in that tiny town.
There must not be a whole lot because Angelo's sitting on his porch and Elizabeth rides up. And so anyway, Angelo doesn't have his money to pay for his tag.
He had just gotten hurt. He had a back thing accident. He had a work accident, and so he didn't have a job. He didn't have money or whatever.
So not passing judgment on people, I'm just like, oh, Angelo doesn't even have enough to pay for his dog tag.
Or these must have been some like really spiffy dog tags.
How expensive are these dog tags?
Yeah.
Okay, so that for me is kind of questionable. I mean, I'm working and he's not. But he has a dog and he can't afford to pay. I guess to me would be like if you know that the dog tag lady's coming, you got to save up for a rainy day. That is just me. So anyway, I guess they start talking about horses, and boom.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Horses. It's horses. It's Elizabeth's favorite topic because she doesn't talk to
fly.
Yeah.
Yes, she doesn't talk like that with Andy.
Right. Yeah.
And okay, so anyway, I guess I don't remember. Does he introduce his horse to her right away?
I think
no.
Was it early on?
Yes.
In the episode?
Yeah, I thought they did.
Well,
XL, right? His horse's name was XL.
Yeah.
Right. So he told her that he had a horse in the back and stuff. And so later on, after she kept coming back or whatever, then introduced the horse to her.
Okay.
And
so she comes back to collect payment.
Yes.
Right? And then meets Excel. I think that's how it happens. Something like that. And so, okay, so this is how she describes Excel as having, he's a gentle horse with a soft eye. I've never been around horses, so I don't know what a soft eye is. Anybody?
I was wondering if it meant a lazy eye. I don't know. I'm going to win somewhere.
And so she said he had a soft eye. And this is what she said. You can always judge an owner by the way an animal acts. Okay, so Johnny Cash acts a fool, and I don't want you to judge me based on that.
But it kind of, if the shoe fits.
But if the shoe fits, I'm like, oh my gosh, sometimes I call Johnny Cash a jerk because he can't be. So maybe I'm a jerk owner, okay? So I'm not sure if you guys judge people based on the way their animals act. Anybody do that? Jamie, I switched off my comments just because, they distract me totally.
Yeah.
But good morning, everybody. I just wanted to say good morning, see who you guys are. But anyway, okay, so I'm going to go back to private chat because you know how crazy I am. So anyway, back to this. Anyway, so she comes to the conclusion that Angelo cares so much about his animals. And you know what? He's going to do the same thing about caring about humans.
Well, that makes logical sense to me. If you take care of an animal, I mean, okay, so I'll tell you like this in like psychology world and stuff like that, people who abuse or mutilate animals,
serial
killers.
Yeah.
They have a tendency they move on, they move up. So
but sometimes too, sometimes you would treat your animals better than you treat humans.
Yes, that is true also.
I mean, there's just so many things.
Yeah, in Elizabeth's defense, though, I mean, people do that. If you meet somebody and you're kind of questioning them, but then you meet their animal and their animal's really sweet and good-natured, it makes you think better of that person. So, I mean, maybe the horse was just so over Angelo and all his BS that the horse was like, whatever, man. But Elizabeth made some bad calls, but I can back her up on that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, and so Shauna says, excuse me, I don't know why I'm having trouble. Shauna says, yes, sometimes I do judge on how animals act. And so, yeah, if you are hesitant on someone, it's so easy to be like, oh, and think about it. Like, there's the cliche, right? Like, guys, for example, who say they'll get their nephews or nieces, take them to the park, or get the really cool looking dog, and it helps them catch females' attention. So it's not a far stretch to think, let the horse help me catch some female attention, maybe even.
Okay, and in Shauna's thing, okay, so she's got Big Jake, and he's a tiny little Yorkie, and he alerted at someone, like, he's fine, loves people. He's actually going to be a therapy dog, and Shauna, he's probably already graduated, I can't remember. But anyway, so Big Jake is going to be a therapy dog, and said was doing good with everybody. They were at a race, and all of a sudden, he like zones in on this guy and just starts barking and follows him all the way until he gets into the building. So then he goes back to being normal. And then the guy walks out of that building and Big Jake just goes off on him. So, I mean, maybe the spirits weren't right with this particular gentleman. Okay. So yes. So we've established that people, humans, we're going to be attached to people that treat their animals correctly. Okay. So anyway, Elizabeth and Angelo, they swap horse riding stories. And, if she has a story, then Angelo has a story. And, so they start telling each other more personal things. So Angelo's like, yes, I was once married. So then Elizabeth's like, okay, well, I'm in a 6-year dead-end relationship.
Basically.
Yes, just in a nutshell. And so
also she starts inviting him to places that she likes.
Right. Before while together.
Right. Yeah, so they start. Yeah, remember, because he starts joining her in the truck on her door-to-door dog tag selling, which I'm trying to see if there's such a job, or was there ever a job? And coming up a little blank.
Okay, I'm curious.
But so here's what I did though. I did. There's some analysis you can do when you do job. I've done this before. Anyway, you could take a job that today is similar, and you can backtrack that to back then and see what it would have been like. And so essentially, what I found, it would have been comparable to a kennel, I can't remember what they're called, a kennel assistant or something like that. And so essentially you're looking at about $10 to $13 an hour.
Okay.
So my only other thought was, she said for every story I had, he had a similar story. Like, did he really have a story, or was he so sly that he would use her story, change it a bit, and make his own story to like...
See, and I thought that too. I'm like, oh, is he a one-upper? Like, oh, yeah, sucker, so I had a horse.
Right, yeah.
Those people are really something. Oh, gosh.
So anyway, okay, so over 3 months, they're riding. And so Elizabeth is sharing, like, her favorite spots at the lake, and they just show all this, I mean, you're getting to know somebody, okay? Right. So this is where you're seeing what, because you don't see their true colors. Right. In 3 months, I don't know.
You're still happy.
You're still happy. You still have little butterflies in your stomach and all that stuff. And so Elizabeth moves out. She leaves. I guess in one of those conversations, they talk about maybe leaving. And so she leaves Andy. And she doesn't go find her own place. She moves in with Angelo. I mean, girl moves fast. Like 3 months, bam, I'm moving with this guy. And I'm not to say that it's never happened. I mean, there's arranged marriages and they work out, years and years later. So let's be hopeful. Let's be positive here that something's good is going to happen. Okay. So they move into this great big house, and she also moves her horse. And her horse, she sets it next to XL, and her horse's name is Owen. And so she loves Owen, and Owen's a good horse and all this other stuff. He probably has 2 soft eyes. I'm talking. So anyway, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all. So these are red flags for me. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Guys. So, definitely. I mean, you're going to work every single day, and I'm like, how's your back doing? Why are you not working? Those are my questions. I say that now, but I could have been like, oh, so lovey-dovey, gosh. I mean, I made some bad choices in my life. Okay, let's just put that out there.
Right.
So anyway,
I agree with you. So and the hugest red flag to me on anything is like when there's a certain amount of time that's condensed and you're making all these huge choices in there, it's always like, man, So when you're like, you've only met someone for 2-4 months and you're about to get married.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not love. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is there is a red flag that hops up there. And so if I see more red flags later, then it's kind of like, okay. You're Well,
That
I've met
is
people
not real
who've only
life. You
met
meet
short.
this person and everything's perfect, and it's like, yeah.
Sarah, I would say that it's not real life, but there is a small percentage of people that is real for them. And I've met one or
There
two
is.
people in that sense. And even when they've only met each other online, and then within 6 months they've moved in together, get
That's
married.
true.
Now they're the Brady Bunch, and 15 years later they're still married. I'm like, okay, well, you're the exception, though. I think you're the exception.
They
So
are
I'm
the
just gonna
exception. Yeah. That
I've never met anybody that worked out for. Okay.
Really?
Okay, so let's move on with Angelo and Liz. Okay, so they move in together, and okay, so they bring in Nelson. What y'all think about Nelson? I want to say that Nelson was probably my favorite character.
He really was, and not the
Yes.
TV Nelson, but the
Real
actual Nelson.
Yeah.
That guy, I was like, man, I
Ne-
should never hang out with him.
So,
oh,
I fast forward. Okay, let's rewind a little bit. I got ahead of myself just like I always do. Okay, so let's go back. So Liz goes back to her seasonal job at what is it? A slaughter?
A meat packing.
A meat packing.
Okay.
Okay, so she's a cashier. This is a seasonal job, so she goes back to her job. And guess who comes to work with her?
Surprise!
Surprise!
Angelo
goes to work with her every single day.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
weird.
So weird. Okay, so I would think,
isn't that sweet?
I mean, is it?
Annoyingly sweet.
Because I'm just kind of like, okay, you're not here to work. You're just going to sit in the break room and watch me the entire time.
Yeah.
I don't know anywhere that's acceptable.
No. Usually, I mean, drop you off, pick you up, the whole staying.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It is weird.
Staying the whole time.
And her boss is in here kind of like, oh, one day they wore the same shirt and it was kind of cute. And I'm like,
okay, look real quick. So Renee responded. She says, that's me. Met Eric, that's her husband, online in 96. Engaged after 3 months. Married 4 months later. Been married over 22 years.
Okay, Renee. So that's what Jamie, this is a relationship Jamie was talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because no one else.
Sorry.
Good for you, Renee.
Yeah, good for you. Congratulations to you and Eric both. And they've been madly in love forever. So yeah. But anyhow, yeah, it is weird because I know if I were to show up at my wife's job, and for Sarah and Melissa, my wife is a therapist, that would just be weird for me to be sitting in the waiting room while clients coming in and out, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a bit much, and this is like daily. So then he's a bragger. So Angelo is a bragger. So he's like, hey, I got her some earrings, and then there she is with her earrings on. Hey, I bought her a ring, and there she is with her rings on. So they kind of pointed that out, and then anyway, but not everyone likes Angelo. So this is when Nelson comes in. Okay, so Nelson, I guess, is a local horse buyer. We'll call him that. And
horse trader, I think.
Horse trader. Okay.
Dealer. Horse dealer.
Trader, dealer, buyer, auctioneer.
That's what it said under his name, horse dealer.
And so he's pretty funny. I really like Nelson. Guys, y'all need to watch this. Nelson's a great character. And so anyway, he claims that he's had dealings with Nelson before. With Angelo. And he claims that he would have his hands in his pockets, and he's got like this, macho stance type thing, and he's got like this deep voice. And Angelo just calls it what it is. He's like, he's full of BS. And I'm like, yes.
Not Angelo.
Yeah. Nelson claims that Angelo's full of BS.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. They make several remarks that Angelo spits a lot.
Yes. Spits while he's talking to people. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how he would establish his macho-ness, I suppose, like
his dominance.
Right. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to sit on you. I'm just going to sit there.
And to give that was one of the mentioned points that Elizabeth makes on her acceptability of him being masculine was that, like, he would stand there with his hands in his pocket and he'd spit. Now, they didn't mention this in the show, but in my research I found that she had mentioned, she was like, I always noticed how soft his hands were, but then he would spit, and so she was like, it just never clicked.
But she's not judging.
Yeah.
She's not judging.
Yes. So go back to that. She does not pass judgment. Right. So anyway, so Nelson says he didn't understand them as a couple, and he even goes too far to say that she was an idiot for being, that Elizabeth's an idiot for being with Angelo. Again, Nelson is a very blunt person. This is his character saying these real things about them.
He does not mince words.
No, and he says that. He said, I'm going to tell it like it is. And I appreciate Nelson.
I do too. Thank you, Nelson.
Too. Because
Shauna comments here. I'm sorry.
That was friends with her. I was like, well, she was happy, so.
Yeah.
Come on,
isn't that weird? So Shauna said a soft eye means a gentle disposition. They are quiet and calm. Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead. I'm sorry, Jamie.
No, go ahead.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that Liz had soft eyes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I'd agree with you there.
Definitely.
Sarah, you had said, oh shoot, what did you just say?
Oh, that Nelson was being real. Everybody else, like the other friends and even Elizabeth's dad, just kind of seemed to let it go along.
Yeah,
but
you said that they were like, it's so happy.
Oh,
they were just happy.
And it was, so we're happy.
Okay, so have any of you guys ever had an idea, not an idea, like, have you ever really wanted to stand up at the wedding and being like, I object to it?
Yes.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So I have had people, I don't know if I should share. Okay. I've had people who've told me that they wanted to get married and that they were going to ask the person to be their spouse. And what did I think? And I have been like, no, you definitely do not need to do that. Yeah. Stay away from that, and that, like, quick. So that's as far as I've gotten. And not to be a jerk, but just because I'm like, no.
Okay, so confession time. We're in a trust circle here.
Yeah.
We were invited to a wedding, and I really honestly thought that this wedding should not happen. So we did not go, just because I'm like, this should not even be happening right now.
Uh-huh.
And if you want to know more, I'll tell you after the show.
Yeah.
You have to put a pin in it. We'll come back to that wedding. Yeah. So anyway, back to Liz and Angelo.
Okay.
What was that thing? Okay, so anyway, she thought, so Liz's boss thought that Liz was a cute girl, and she really thought that she could do better than Angelo. But she's like, but love is blind. And so put that boss right up there with Liz's friend. What was Liz's friend's name?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody remember that?
I don't remember.
No.
We'll just call her Liz's friend. Mm-hmm. And so Liz put the boss up there with Liz's friend and Liz's dad, because they're just all kind of just sitting back watching all of this happen. No one's really questioning her. Okay. And all these flags are coming up. So Angelo gets more and more possessive. He and then finally Liz's boss gets tired of him being there, of him being at work every single day. And his son is actually the one that says, you've got to go.
Yeah.
So he does.
Outside.
He leaves, but he sits outside.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you have to vacate the premises. Yeah. So Angelo, law-abiding citizen Angelo, moves off to the park.
Yeah.
So he can still see her. And guys, so I mean, I'm just red flags just everywhere. Like, you're still out at work. Like, how long is this back injury gonna last? Because I'm like, this is taking forever to heal.
I mean, maybe they didn't have a lot of crime. Like, maybe she's not aware of these red flags. I don't know. Like, this is so weird because, like I said, she early on she thought it was just kind of cute, and I'm like,
like, I don't know about that. So anyway, So the Elizabeth's boss notices she's kind of losing weight.
And at the end of the episode, it had only been 7 months.
Right. So it's fast.
No, at this point it was only like 3 or 4 months, right?
Yeah, at that point.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
The entire episode spans less than a year.
Yeah. So I want to say like at 3 or 4 months. So she starts losing weight. And so Angelo is like, oh, yeah, I want my women thin.
Yeah.
Nice and thin.
Yeah. At the end, 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The end of it is 7 months. Okay. So then Elizabeth's dad finally notices some changes in her behavior. So they go over to visit. And so Angelo's like making her like sit up straight, put your hands on your legs, be ladylike, and you know. And so the dad's like, you know, I can see a difference now.
Right.
Like, okay, so you didn't see anything else, but that's kind of what gave him a red flag. And so I guess Liz has been a tomboy, you know, horse riding, dog tagging, been a tomboy. And so now she's wearing like these floral dresses, and she has these strange injuries, but she just attributes it to horse riding, to hit a trailer, and I don't know.
Cowbell.
Yeah.
She hit a cowbell.
Cowbell injury.
What is that?
Got me on that one. I don't know. Carrie, if you're watching, tell us what that is, please.
What? Who said that? Did Carrie say something?
No, but I know she knows a lot about that kind of stuff, like random facts.
So one other fact about me is I'm a labor and delivery and women's health nurse. And one of the things that we do see, so every now and then I've taken care of a patient who's gotten the crap beat out of her. The family usually knows. The family said, not the first time. She's been having bruises. Like, it's not a secret. And it's like they said in the show, it's kind of like this is an adult and they have to be ready to speak up. And it's a challenge sometimes because you just want to get that person out, but it kind of has to be on their timeline. And I think it's like a cult survivor too. That's your world and you're not ready to leave. And so almost just telling them, like, when you're ready, we're here until you are.
But you know, the other side of that, not the other side of that, the down the road side of that too, is like if families, like it's always challenging to call out things, especially like when the father called her and was like, you know, I'm giving you a way out, and she didn't take it. Like families people have a hard time calling things that is. Like I will tell you, like if I saw something like that, I had people in my house, and Sandy, you know, I'm gonna be like, is he beating you?
Right.
Like I would just call it out like that and be like, I'm serious. I would be like, that looks like you got punched in the eye by your husband, and you're not going to tell us because you're in front of my house and stuff.
So I have a friend that I was in this similar relationship, and I've always told it like it is. And I'm like, okay, because like we're fixing to get ready to bury you. I'll get ready for your funeral. Because I'm like, let's be honest, that's where you're headed. I mean, honestly. And you have to be, I feel like you had to be real, or I had to be real just because that's how I am with her. And I'm like, look, dude, next step is death. I don't know. And it was just always kind of like, and then we got to the point where we could just laugh at it. And that's how it was. It was awful. I mean, continue to be in this relationship, but then we just we would make jokes, which is, you know, but what do you do when that person, like you said, isn't ready to see it and will probably never see, you know, why it is that we worry about them. Right. So Elizabeth quits her job, according to the owner that's talking. She said Elizabeth quit her job, but her friend says she got fired, which I could see both ways. Like you're quitting because you're sick of Angelo coming to work with you, but you're also going to get fired because he's there constantly.
Yeah.
And guys, on top of that, when it rains, it pours. She lost her part-time dog license tagging job. I'm like, okay, so obviously Angelo's not working. She's lost both of her jobs. And around the same time, they get kicked out of the house because no one's paying rent. Okay, some more red flags, okay?
Yes.
And Elizabeth's brother, who does not come on this show, he starts telling the dad, I'm seeing signs, or he tells somebody or tells her that he starts seeing signs of domestic abuse. He sees bruises on her face. And at some point, Elizabeth asks him to take her guns because she's like, it's not a very ladylike thing anymore. Okay. And cue Nelson. Here comes Nelson again. Nelson says he warns his friends and says Angelo is a scammer and is a con man, but no one's listening to Nelson.
Right.
So
No.
Poor Nelson.
I don't get it. I mean, I think Nelson and I would be really good friends.
Yeah.
So Kelly is the friend's name. Kelly. So Kelly, the friend, is driving by and sees this awesome garage sale. She's like, I'm pulling over. And
Hate garage sales.
oh, do you? I mean, I love them.
Yeah. Oh.
As a kid, especially because
I was traumatized by them.
Yeah.
We went to them all the time as a kid.
We would dread that my mom would roll up at our friend's garage sale, and we lived in a small one-horse town like where they're from, so we're going to be wearing somebody's stuff. So anyway, Kelly, she's like, there's all this nice stuff, and then she's like, wait a second, all of this is Elizabeth's stuff, and she's like, why are you selling it? And then she's kind of looking around, and she's like, well, where's Angelo's crap? Why isn't he selling any of his stuff?
Like, why would he, right? That would mean he'd have to get rid of it.
Exactly. So let's get rid of your stuff that means nothing to me.
Right.
Yeah.
All of my stuff.
Yeah. But this is where Nelson takes advantage and gets that sweet horse deal, though.
So here comes Nelson again. Nelson trades.
He's so unapologetic.
No,
He's like, I'm not even tell you how much I got a sweet deal.
It was a good deal for me, though.
So Nelson, he does give her a crappy horse.
Yeah.
I mean, Nelson's kind of a good guy. He doesn't just take the money. He gives her a crappy horse, probably some good money, and then makes a lot of money on this. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so then they finally find a new place after this garage sale, which is 40 miles away. And then all of a sudden, they come back. They're going to host a garden party. I've never had a garden party. I don't even know what that is. I don't even have a garden.
Kind of like a backyard cookout.
Okay.
Oh, but they do it at their parents, her mom and dad's house.
Yes, at her mom and dad's house, they have this garden party. And so they show you, she's in there with her floral dress and her shades on at this party. Because it's outside. It's a garden party. It's bright. Okay. And so anyway, they announced to the world that they're married. Oh my gosh.
Yay.
They got married. Oh my, and we're pregnant. Yay. We are so excited. We are pregnant. So
right there.
Let me look.
Yes, thank you.
So then they make her remove her shades, and bam, look at this black eye. Elizabeth has a black eye again.
That's a shiner too.
Man, it's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so what do we say at this point with this black eye? I don't even remember what she says.
She says a horse accident again.
Okay.
Yeah, she keeps blaming it on the horses. Like the horses headbutted her. The horse
bucked her off or whatever. There were some court. I looked at some court filings or whatever, and did find that there were one of the reasons that she used heavily was not just the horse, but also she had a 4-wheeler that she would continually get accidents off of. So,
okay. So here's my thing. It's like, I bet it's that crappy horse Nelson gave her. I would believe that.
Yeah.
Pinche Nelson.
Because it wasn't Owen. Owen never would do these sorts of things.
Yeah. That horse must not have had soft eyes.
It did not. It was Nelson. It could not have had soft eyes. So anyway.
That was a hard-eyed son of a gun.
Yes, hard eyes. Yes, it sure was. So at this point, Dad's trying to question. Tom is trying to question, is he hitting you?
Right.
But Elizabeth is not saying anything. Okay, so let's go to August. So it's only been since April, right? So April, May, June, July, August.
Yeah.
4 months. Okay. She winds up in the hospital. Elizabeth winds up in the hospital with life-threatening injuries, guys. Okay, get ready for this. Cover your ears because I'm going to tell you what happened. She had bruising, swelling, a collapsed lung, and she had a vaginal laceration. Okay, this is serious business. She's in the ER. They have to give her 7 units of blood. Okay, and then luckily they throw in, it says the average body holds 12 units of blood. Okay. she's bleeding. She's about to die. And even Elizabeth is like, I'm gonna die. She's like, I already knew that I was gonna die. And so anyway, so Angelo's with her waking moment by the hospital. And so Elizabeth tells the doctor that it was a horse riding accident. And she explains the vaginal laceration by saying that she landed on the saddle horn. Okay.
What's a saddle horn?
Which
I'm assuming you hold on to when you're riding a saddle.
The thing you hold on
to.
We all know what a saddle horn is.
No, because I didn't hear anything, but I heard the same thing at different times.
So you know that little raised bump in the middle of the saddle? Have you ever seen a saddle, Jamie?
Yes.
Okay, so that little raised bump. Your daughter takes horse riding lessons, for crying out loud.
And I'm from Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah. Lubbock, Texas. So anyway, that's what she tells the doctor. And she also has to tell the family that she's had a miscarriage.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And then I guess she heals up. By the grace of God, she survives. And then they find another house. They move away again. And this one is an hour away. So it's like he's not moving her any closer to her family. He's moving her further and further away from the family.
They got kicked out of the house again.
Okay. Because I did not know that. I kind of wondered what happened. But I mean, I'm assuming no one's paying.
Right.
So
kick you out.
Okay. It makes sense to me.
So
how do you get in a house without money? I'm sorry. How do you get in houses without money?
That was my question too. But unless they still had garage sale money.
Oh.
And how much can you make in a garage? Like, I'm just telling you, it is. When I hear this kind of stuff, I'm always like, that kind of stuff doesn't happen to me. I don't know what, like, if I sell something, like if I sell my can of Coke, you're going to get a quarter or something, right? I'm going to get a quarter for this. But I feel like some people, they get like, they can get $15 for that. Cause I'm like, how much do you really make at a garage sale to live off of?
One time I did make $400 in a garage sale, but I had I had a lot of big ticket items. I had bicycles. I had,
I mean, they might have spots that were a little bit lower on the scale of apartments.
Yeah, maybe
pay in cash kind of deal.
Yeah,
maybe you're right.
I don't know. And I'm with you, Jamie, because I'm like, there's a lot of people that move that have more addresses and phone
houses, ranch hand houses.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's fast forward because this happened in August. So now September, we have to have something going on, okay?
Yes.
So September 21st, Elizabeth calls 911. I don't know. Do they have 911 in Canada? What do they have over there?
It's a different number.
Right.
Well, and if she moved an hour away, that could easily put her in America.
Oh, really? So let's just say she called 711 in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Canadians, I'm so sorry. I don't know what your emergency number is, but if I'm ever there, I'm going to remember what it is. So Canadians, go ahead and put your emergency number in the comments. So anyway, there's a stabbing, okay? There's a stabbing at their new address, but this time it's not Elizabeth that's hurt. It's Angelo. Angelo has been stabbed.
Aww.
So I know, I'm just kind of like, well, it's about time he goes to the hospital, right? It's awful. Okay, let's not say that. So Elizabeth tells police
he must have fallen on the saddle horn too.
A couple of them that had knives.
That's right.
And she calls the police and said there was a burglar that attacked Angelo. So immediately they're telling you that Angelo's in critical condition. And okay, we have a fellow Canadian here. Thank you.
Okay.
Joe Baker, Canadian. They do use.
We love Canada.
We love Canada.
Oh, okay, good.
So okay, so he's being put in the ambulance, or like he's in critical condition, and she's trying to get in there. So they're pulling her out of there. And what do you think happens? Anybody?
I know what happens, but if I was watching it for the first time, I'd have guessed that
Elizabeth would have rode in the ambulance, duh.
Yeah. I thought her father or brother maybe came and handled some business. You know what I mean?
Oh, was
And then,
that what you were speculating?
that's what I thought at first. I was like, ooh, her brother came and did a DoorDash, left him a knife, and then,
Yeah.
or if I was trying to be
that's a good
funny, I
call.
think maybe Nelson came over and did something because he was like, no more bad deals, and then ran away, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So for a while, I was an EMT, and I was in classes in Detroit, and they would tell us like the mode of entry for the stabbing would indicate your gender sometimes, because women are bad at stabbing people because we do this, and like men go. And so since it is such an effective job, I was wondering like, would the EMTs suspect her or not? You know?
really?
I like that perspective.
Yeah.
But there was never mind. I think I'm getting ahead.
So I was wondering if they thought, well, this is a really good job. Maybe it's not her because, if you haven't had training, you're not very good at stabbing people.
Yeah. I'm
Right.
going to have to train to stab. That way the suspicion won't lie on me. Yeah.
I feel like I've worked with
Stab like a
knives and
man.
cutting meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I still have to work on
A
that.
meat processing plant. She would be good with knives.
Yeah, but she's just a cashier.
Oh, okay.
Still.
A cashier.
Maybe
Certainly
she's
she
awesome.
picked up some skills, though.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Totally could have. Because, I mean, you practice stabbing
Yeah.
cows, right?
Don't stab like that.
No, don't stab like that.
Yeah.
People get it together. She just told you how to stab. Okay. So anyway, they're loading Angelo up, and Angelo has maybe a deathbed confession and says she did it. I wish I had the thun thun thun, but I'll just go ahead and do that for you.
Was my wife.
Dun, dun.
My wife stabbed me. Can you believe that?
Oh, that was the wrong one. I was trying to give you this one. It's like
So anyway, I was just kind of like, I'm secretly cheering, okay?
Right.
Because she finally broke her silence. She finally defended herself.
Totally.
I was gonna say this has been years coming, but this has been months, okay?
Yeah, right.
Right.
This has just been months. And so anyway, Liz is charged with first-degree murder because guess what? Angelo dies. Angelo does not make it. And so they reveal some stuff, okay? The detective is starting to talk to her, and she said, Angelo's dead. But he kept referring to Angelo as Angela. And she's like, well, no, my husband's name is Angelo. And the detective's kind of like, do you understand what's going on here? The paramedics reveal that on the way to the hospital, they discover a prosthetic penis under Angelo's clothing. And so poor Elizabeth, who just murdered somebody, is just kind of distraught in all of this.
Yeah.
Which this for me was just kicker. I think I would have felt like Elizabeth in that moment, like, so wait, I killed the wrong guy.
Right.
I'm like, I defended myself the wrong person. I'm really going to jail now.
Yeah.
I mean, when you guys learned that, what?
She's like, no, wait,
Sarah.
I mean, I was laughing. I'm still laughing because it was so unbelievable. And you're watching Elizabeth, and she seems so sweet and so well spoken. And it's just speechless.
And that's how
there's almost no words when she's like, oh yeah, they said they found a prosthetic penis, and she just seems as confused as we are. It's like, but wait, weren't you married to that person? You were married to them. And my favorite part, and maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead, is when she said it was dark.
Okay, and so I go back to.
Okay. I didn't
wait. You guys announced y'all were pregnant,
right?
Had a prosthetic penis. It was dark.
Yeah. So what was y'all's reaction when y'all watched it?
Yeah, just like, how did you never look? And apparently not pregnant.
Yeah. And so, Jamie, what?
So you remember recently, guys, I learned about polyamorous, right?
Yes.
And there's other side terms that I've learned about, and so one of those deal with people who are not sexually active but can still be in a loving relationship. And so my thought is maybe they just didn't have enough opportunities.
Yes.
And so maybe there was some to happen. I don't know.
I don't know. My whole thing is I was just kind of blown away.
Yeah.
That too, you know, and again, when it's
Yeah. So
go ahead.
maybe they just didn't have a lot of interactions with each other, and the few that they did, he was just, because it's not that far of a stretch to see how he was controlling, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it'd be easy for him to say, turn off the lights, don't touch here, don't touch that,
Yeah.
stand like this, sit like this, whatever, and just be whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and I guess too, his story to her was that an ex girlfriend or ex-wife had burned his areas, and so she just never really questioned it, which I guess you can see that maybe from an abuse standpoint. And like you said, Jamie, if he is this, and this already, then you can see where she would, be
hesitant to question
anything.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth is charged with murder, and then she starts to pour out all these details. She says they're fighting, and she's like, okay, I'm done. Like that night, she decided that she was done, but he's like, I'm going to kill your 8-year-old niece. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, you're not going to mess with my niece. And so, I'm sure that's when she was like, I've got to protect my family at this point. And he's like, I'm bringing her head on a platter. I mean,
by morning.
I mean, he's serious with all this stuff. And so that's when I guess he jumps on her, is how they depict it. He jumps on her, and so she actually starts fighting back. And in one of her, and so this is when they start revealing that within the first week of moving in, that's when he beat her up. I mean, a week.
Yeah.
Okay. So their honeymoon period was over relatively quickly, and she's fearing for her life, And then she tells everybody we're not legally pregnant. I mean, we're not legally married. And okay, we were never pregnant, which, I mean, we kind of gathered that now. And so the detective starts telling him that Angelo has had a dark history. He's hurt 4 other partners before. And this kind of right here was just kind of eye-opening for me. Because they have like these, is it psychotherapists that were on the show?
Which the guy was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't he really?
Yeah.
I thought the same.
That like helped you understand the situation.
No.
You know what he was? He was talking so he could be like above us. It was all like, okay, dude. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't so the psychotherapists were in there, and
she did an okay job. She was a psychotherapist. He was a forensic something.
Yeah, he was
not. Yeah.
Shoot. I lost my
Sorry,
train.
Sandy.
No,
sorry.
I object. That.
Okay. So yeah, it's crazy, right? Because he comes in. There's this revelation that's dropped down. She's having it's kind of like she's taking it all in, and it's like, wait, what? Like,
yeah.
And people are obviously having questions, right? And I commend her for going on there, because we get to see her reactions, and she is like, the whole time she's talking, her eyes are closed or looking down very far, and she is just like, it felt this way, he said, and I respect it. And to have, she just seems like a sweet person, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And is just caught up in some messed up stuff for that year, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, I could see where she would maybe be open to a relationship with a woman, and maybe she wasn't at a place then or even now where she would want to admit that. But because she almost gives this impression of like, maybe deep down I did know, but she found someone that she wanted to love, and that she wanted to love her. And it's like those things maybe weren't as important as the other parts of the relationship, which is fine. But it was sad for me that she was like kind of almost went out on a limb to explore this part of herself, and Angela's what she got out on the limb.
Yeah.
And that was sad to me, because almost because of what she was risking there, and she got nothing in return.
I agree.
So, with only 5 minutes left, I do have some tidbits, added tidbits that weren't, if you want me to share those.
Yes, please.
Okay, so first off, she passed off as a man from the age that she was 14. And I know we kind of alluded to that in the show, but it wasn't necessarily, I didn't feel like it was necessarily stated. But okay, so she passes off as a male from the age of 14 onwards. Did you know that she also had relationships with males and females prior to Elizabeth?
I know that they said that she had 4 relationships, but they didn't specify gender.
Right. So she also, and this was said in the show too, she beat, stalked, and starved several of her lovers. So get this, Angelo starved a male lover of hers till he lost 99 pounds.
What?
She caused the 7-year-old daughter of another lover to lose 15 pounds.
So she was obsessed with weight.
She sexual. Sorry?
I said I need to go on the Angelo diet. Don't say that.
She sexually assaulted another lover with a prosthetic penis. All of them ended their relationships with Angelo by fleeing, by getting away. You know, here's some of the reasons that Angelo would beat her lovers: not answering questions quick enough, not having dinner ready fast enough, not sitting up straight or acting like a lady. There were times where Angelo would padlock the freezer or the refrigerator, and with Elizabeth went from weighing 200 pounds at the beginning of their relationship to 130 pounds.
Wow.
So if you don't understand, when he was starving her, like, it was legit.
In 7 months.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons that they showed they got into a fight, because she served herself a portion similar to his, and that caused the fight. That's when he pointed the gun at her.
Yeah, that's right.
About that, he was creating maybe some of the chaos from his childhood, you know, and putting it on other people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this right here is a riding crop. I didn't know what it was. I know what it is. I didn't know it was called a riding crop. He severely beat Elizabeth once with this thing on her butt, and even caused an infection.
Oh my gosh.
In those 7 months.
He did so much damage in 7 months. I mean, the guy moved quickly. My gosh.
I didn't realize she lost that much weight. She probably wasn't even in her right mind half the time, because she was so hungry.
Right.
Wow.
So, you know what? Here's the other thing. I'm not sympathizing with her at all. I got to admit, when I was watching the show, I felt like there was a lot of disingenuous feelings that she was giving off until she talked about her family. No, until the end, when she talked about her family, you know. But it felt very forced, disingenuous, or whatnot. The sex part with him, that looked legitimately real, because she didn't open her eyes. That's the thing that, you know, when you feel shame and embarrassment, that's why she didn't want to look at the camera. That makes sense. But then that whole part, like, so she talks about how she zoned out. It was like watching TV whenever she was killing him. But then she was zoned in.
Any of it, right?
Yeah, but then she also remembered that he was gonna hurt her niece, and she said that was like playing Russian roulette. And it's like, so all of a sudden she has this attacking type, you know, mama bear reaction, but at the same time she goes back and doesn't remember it. So I thought that was weird. But I don't think it means she was wrong or she wasn't hurt or that he didn't, you know, she wasn't protecting herself. None of that. Anyway, I don't. You can talk about the end or whatever.
Well, I mean, I guess there at the very end, she does actually say, and this is kind of what what played in my mind. She's like, maybe in the back of my head, I did know that Angela was the girl. And that just kind of was like, maybe that was like Sarah said, or you said, that was her way of exploring, you know?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I forgot to mention this. So Angela was murdered on Saturday, September 21st, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
She was found not guilty on Thursday, April 3rd of 2003.
Oh,
and the trial only took 1 day.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this Elizabeth, I feel like she's had like a really sad life because she goes on to get married again, and she actually does have a kiddo, and then her husband dies of a heart attack, and I'm like,
then I was like, was it a heart attack?
Right.
Oh no.
Well, stay tuned for episode 3. Not really. Well, guys,
cold.
I know, right? Okay, so we've come to the end of this episode. Leave your thoughts, comments, whatever you guys will want to talk about. If you guys have another show, Sarah, thanks so much for coming on. I know that your babies are precious and that you have to get back to them. And Melissa for coming over and talking about this, and then having an audience. I love that she had like a whole crowd watching this episode. That was awesome. So guys, remember, let's keep talking sheet. See y'all next Saturday.
Have a good night, good day, everyone. Enjoy your weekends.
Yes.
Happy Labor Day.